LEGO Star Wars debuted in 1999 and has been enjoying tremendous success ever since, providing fans with some of the most iconic LEGO sets of all time, including the likes of the Death Star and UCS Millennium Falcon, which at one point was the biggest LEGO set ever made with a whopping 7,541 pieces. In honor of the franchise's legacy, today we will be exploring all kinds of random and interesting facts, ranging from the sets and minifigures to video games and movies. When the LEGO Star Wars license was announced, it was momentous for both brands as the LEGO Group had never before partnered with a movie franchise, and hype for Star Wars was at an all-time high as it returned with its first film in 16 years, accompanied by a level of merchandising that was so extensive and ubiquitous that it is yet to be rivaled even to this day. Of course, this license was only a starting point for LEGO, as today, partnering with major film franchises is a staple of the company. The first wave of Star Wars sets provided fans with a handful of sets for the Phantom Menace, as well as some of the most iconic vehicles from the original trilogy, like Darth Vader's TIE Fighter and Luke Skywalker's X-Wing. In hindsight, many of these builds are recognized as overly blocky and quite messy, with their splotches of random blues, yellows, and reds, especially in comparison to the highly refined LEGO models of today. But for the time, these sets were cutting edge, providing fans with a plethora of newly molded pieces like this wedge piece, which debuted in 4 of the Wave sets, the X-Wing, Snowspeeder, Naboo Starfighter, and Gungan Sub, as well as this windshield for the X and Y-Wing and Snowspeeder. Both parts are still essential for spaceships of LEGO Star Wars today, appearing in sets such as the most recent X-Wing, UCS Gunship, Mandalorian Starfighter, and 20th Anniversary Edition of the Snowspeeder. While speaking of new parts, I certainly have to mention the classic chrome lightsaber hilt, which is still the best version of this piece to date. Unfortunately, this chrome piece was discontinued after 2010, with its final appearance in the UCS Imperial Shuttle. Fans speculate that the piece was discontinued because over time, the chrome would unfortunately chip away, a problem any kid playing with these sets has experienced, myself included. Today, the hilts come in the regular silver plastic, which doesn't look nearly as cool, but at least doesn't chip. Of course, there was also hype for the plethora of new minifigures debuting with the theme, as many received brand new molds, including helmets for Rebel pilots including Luke Skywalker, Biggs Darklighter, Dak Rowter, and Y-Wing's Gold Leader, Dutch Vader, who has an extremely detailed print for 1999. On the Imperial front, new helmet molds were given to Darth Vader and the Indoor Scout Trooper, but while researching this video, I was shocked to realize that there was no Stormtrooper for the first 2 years of LEGO Star Wars, as one wasn't released until 2001's LEGO TIE Fighter. For a bonus fact, when that set released, it came with a TIE pilot that used a Stormtrooper helmet in black with absolutely no facial printing, and it looks off, even for 2001 standards. For the Episode 1 sets, Padme and Qui-Gon would both receive luscious new hair molds, and Jar Jar Binks would receive his very own head, albeit without any printing. This lack of printing is something that was common for LEGO Star Wars throughout its first few years. We see this with other uniquely molded minifigures such as Sebulba, Watto, Alderbito the Pod Racer, the Ewoks, and others. Many of these figures have come a long way over the years. Darth Maul was the standout minifigure for the first wave, donning the newly molded hood piece that would go on to be a Jedi Essential, and of all the 1999 minifigures, I think he holds up the best to this day, as his face print has just the right amount of realism to give him a menacing look. Over the years, LEGO Star Wars fans have been blessed with, or torturously subjected to, depending on who you ask, a variety of different DVDs, TV, and streaming specials. The one redeeming quality likely to make everyone happy is that these sometimes include exclusive minifigures. One was Darth Vader with an award medal, seemingly mirroring the medals Luke and Han receive at the end of A New Hope, albeit in Imperial fashion for Darth Vader. This minifigure was released with The Empire Strikes Out in 2013. Another DVD exclusive was Young Han Solo, released alongside the Padawan Menace. The Darth Vader figure goes for around $12 to $15 in good condition, whereas Young Han is surprisingly cheap at just a couple of bucks. Exclusive minifigures don't stop with DVDs though. There have been even more released alongside books. A lot of the times, these come in the character encyclopedias. Over the years, fans have received both Luke and Han with medals, a Crimson Dawn version of Darth Maul, an updated version of the epic White Boba Fett, Emperor Palpatine with an exclusive face print, the Protocol droid U-3PO, and even a galaxy-exploring Atlas Yoda. What that one means, I don't know. I think it's really awesome that these books have come with exclusive minifigures. I know that as a kid, there's a good chance that I would have wanted one of those books just for the minifigure alone. But really, I mean, those DK books and all their pictures and models are great too. And if packaging exclusive minifigures is encouraging more kids to pick up books and read, even just a little bit, then more power to it in my opinion. And who am I kidding? I mean, those books and minifigures are even tempting me as a grown man today. Before moving on, if you're enjoying the video so far, I'd ask you to subscribe to the channel, as I'm always working on new content such as LEGO Top 10s. It's often fun to search for expensive LEGO Star Wars listings on eBay just to see what toys are causing people to make poor financial decisions. A few days ago on July 7th, a 1999 New York Toy Fair display of Luke vs. Vader sold for thousands of dollars. The exact amount is unknown as a best offer was accepted, but the original listing was for $4,000. And since it is such a rare set, I think it's safe to say that it at least went into the thousands. In fact, before finding this on eBay, I had never heard of this exclusive before. It is in the Bricklink catalog, but there are none for sale anywhere. Another recent listing was for an Imperial diorama including Darth Vader, 2 Imperial guards, and 2 stormtroopers. It's exceedingly rare as well, as only 500 were ever made. This set was a raffle prize during the Star Wars celebration in 2007 in LA. Per Bricklink, raffle winners could purchase the item for $50. Unfortunately, the set commits the cardinal LEGO sin of being glued. The eBay listing sold in a bidding war between 14 people for a whopping $1,777.77. Other notable eBay listings included multiple UCS Imperial shuttles selling for over $1,000 sealed, along with some Super Star Destroyers selling for a similar range, and sealed copies of Jango Fett's Slave 1 are now selling for over $1,400 on eBay and Bricklink. The minifigures from 2003's Cloud City are now well into the multiple thousands of dollars alone. To summarize, if you were unaware of the potential value of classic LEGO Star Wars sets, it's now time to start freaking out as you frantically dig for the old box of Legos stuffed up in your attic. Now let's move on to some LEGO Star Wars statistics, specifically the number of sets per movie. Since the start of LEGO Star Wars in 1999, the movie with the most dedicated sets is Revenge of the Sith at 50, just barely beating out A New Hope's 49. The movie with the lowest amount, to probably no one's surprise, is The Rise of Skywalker, with a mere 11 sets, with it being the newest film and rather poorly received, having fewer sets than even the 12 each for Solo and Rogue One. Of the original trilogy, Return of the Jedi has the fewest sets at 42, so there's not much of a disparity between any of the original 3 movies. However, for the prequels, Attack of the Clones has by far the least amount of representation at only 21, nearly half of the Phantom Menace's 40. This doesn't surprise me, as Attack of the Clones is considered one of the worst Star Wars films to a lot of people. I, however, love it. Out of the original 6 Star Wars films, I think Attack of the Clones certainly has the highest number of iconic scenes that have never been turned into LEGO sets, such as the Geonosian Arena, Droid Factory, Kamino Cloning Labs, Outlander Club, and Dex's Diner. However, if we go back to the graph, it is noteworthy that there have been more Clone Wars sets than any other Star Wars sub-theme, with it receiving a total of 79 sets, albeit the majority of these were released during the years of the show's original run on Cartoon Network. So perhaps that is why LEGO hasn't felt the need to make more sets based off of Episode 2. If we're looking at total number of sets per era, here's the breakdown. The prequel era has the most with 190, followed by the original trilogy at 159, and then way down there you have the sequel trilogy with only 55 sets total. And for that one, I also think it's curious how over time, each movie received fewer and fewer sets, with The Force Awakens receiving the most and The Rise of Skywalker receiving the least. I think that probably says something about the quality and reception of the sequel trilogy as a whole. When I first saw that the prequel era has the most sets, I was pretty surprised, as LEGO fans have been saying for years that the prequels have been neglected by LEGO, and I've actually felt that way myself, so I decided to dig a little bit deeper, and here's what I found. If we look at sets released since 2016, the numbers tell a far different story than if we just look at the totals going all the way back to 1999. Here's what that graph looks like. First off, let's look at the totals. Since 2016, the original trilogy content has received 67 sets, while the prequel era has received fewer than half of that amount at only 29. Notably, episodes 1 and 2 have only received 4 sets each, and they haven't been great. 2 of the episode 1 sets were polybags, leaving only 2 full-size sets. For episode 2, 2 of the sets were released this year, the Clone Trooper Blister Pack and Obi-Wan's Jedi Starfighter. The 2 others prior to that were the Jedi and Clone Trooper Battle Pack and the Jedi Starfighter with Hyperdrive Ring from 2017. So really, there hasn't been a lot of variety for episode 2 either. So just by looking at the numbers, I think it is fair to say that in recent years, the prequels have been neglected when it comes to sets, especially for episodes 1 and 2. Since the release of Revenge of the Sith, LEGO has produced 7 different iterations of the iconic Jedi Interceptor, stretching back all the way to 2005, providing fans with a variety of different colors, including yellow, dark red, dark blue, and dark green. The dark green version came with the most minifigures at 5, which included both Anakin and Obi-Wan Obi-Wan, along with a security battle droid, R2-D2, and Newt Gunray. It was Mustafar themed, including the lava hover droid that Anakin stands on in his duel with Obi-Wan. Unfortunately, no high ground was included, but it was still a great set. However, my favorite version is the dark blue edition, as it is the only interceptor to ever come with the hyperdrive ring, and it also featured the debut of the Jedi Kit Fisto, a minifigure that has become quite rare over the years, as he has only ever appeared in 3 sets, all of which are now over 10 years old or more at this point. I will say that if they do bring back the Jedi, he's due for a new head mold, as the 2007 version just doesn't hold up to today's molding and printing standards. The highlight piece of the original Jedi Interceptor was the custom molded windshield, which was perfect. The mold for this piece has changed a bit over the years, see if you can spot the difference, and has been used in other Star Wars sets such as the UCS Episode 2, Jedi Starfighter, UCS B-Wing, and Rebel Combat Frigate. Outside of Star Wars, the piece has appeared in other themes like Indiana Jones for this plane. For the final segment of our video, let's go through some rapid-fire facts. Some notable characters that haven't received minifigures are Boss Nass, Shmi Skywalker, Dexter Jetster, Zombie Palpatine, Dryden Voss and L337, who are both from Solo, and Saw Gerrera from the Clone Wars and Rogue One. In 2000, the set Star Wars Pod Racing Bucket was released, featuring 3 pod racers, all of which were very rudimentary and blocky. This was a bit surprising, as Anakin's pod racer had released independently just the year before with a much more detailed build in the first wave of LEGO Star Wars sets, albeit I do like how the Pod Racing Bucket version doesn't have the tan pieces stretching all the way down the middle, by instead only relying on Technic rods. LEGO released the Episode 2 set Bounty Hunter Pursuit in 2002 with the release of Attack of the Clones. The set features the speeder that Anakin jumps out of, as well as Zam Wessels. With the set being over 20 years old and including the only ever released version of the Bounty Hunter, fans have been begging for a remake with all of the slick new pieces of 2022. Albeit, the original holds up decently to today's building standards. Reese is the only grand minifigure LEGO has ever produced, in spite of that species being quite popular throughout Star Wars lore. He appeared in the 2013 Jabba's Cell Barge set, and he now sells for anywhere in the $30 to $50 range. Speaking of Jabba, the Crime Lord himself has only ever appeared in 4 sets spanning 10 years from 2003 to 2013. For his first 2 appearances, his mold was rather rough, and like some previously mentioned figures, received no printing. Thankfully, he received a much needed upgrade in 2012. Since he's been out of commission now for nearly 10 years at this point, many fans are asking for him to return as well. He sells for around $30 to $60. Occasionally, LEGO will release Star Wars sets based off of video games and other content that isn't considered canon. These have included sets based off of Star Wars Battlefront, The Force Unleashed, and The Old Republic. Often, these out-of-the-ordinary releases lead to extremely expensive minifigures such as Darth Malgus and Darth Revan, both of which now sell for well over $100, and at this point, Revan is selling for around $250. The most recent release of this sort is Mace Windu's clone troopers, the 187th Legion, in the New Republic fighter tank, as these clones have never been officially part of any canon Star Wars source. And anyways guys, that is going to do it for today's video. I hope you found it to be interesting, and if you'd like to see a part 2, be sure to tell me what kind of information you'd like me to focus on down in the comments below. LEGO Star Wars is such a huge property that one video barely scratches the surface, as I'm sure you've all noticed, so there's definitely tons more that could be included, and I'm sure this could be a continual series if reception is good. But anyways, until next time, see you later.